Hi, welcome to Audrey Meyer Profile Talk. Hey Zane, how you doing?
Hey, Audrey, aloha. Thanks for having me this morning.
Thank you so much for being here. And I wish we would have been able to do that interview in Cabarete, but I know the event you were coming from has been postponed, so we just do it online. Yeah, would have been nice to see you, watch you shredding.
Oh man, I love being out in Cabarete during this time of the year. It's one of my favorite trips, that I have in my schedule over the last 5 years. Being able to immerse myself in another waterman community so similar to Maui, but at the same time so different. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I really, place holds a special place in my heart, but it also is a great place to compete. I mean, it's one of my favorite competitions. I think Marcus and Patricia and the whole Master of the Ocean team have done a cool job off putting together like an event that we could all play in, and be able to
Absolutely.
express ourselves in.
And we love to have you here. So Zane, I know you've been like a two-time ultimate waterman champion, ISA world champion, five-time master of the ocean. But my experience of you is you positive energy, you appreciation for life and people around you, you love for the ocean, you live a life of gratitude. Then you are so inspiring. So what I want to know is, where does that come from?
Yeah, thank you so much, Audrey. I really appreciate it. You know, to be a good man means more than me and being a good athlete. So my dad has always instilled that on me for sure. I remember coming back home from events or training sessions as a young kid, and my dad would always encourage me to tell me about the experience, the people involved, and not so much talk about my personal maneuver or my personal result. And he'd often remind me, hey, well, make sure your helmet fits, like don't let your head get too big. And but my grandmother was also a huge influence on my life early on, just opening my eyes to the attitude of gratitude, showing me the possibilities and what can come to your life with mindfulness and with the practice of journaling.
I love
And
that.
so early on, from the age of maybe 8-10 years old, my grandma had us kids reciting our gratitude and doing manifestation and visualization drills and doing meditations. And she really opened our eyes to this a sense of mindfulness that I think many adults don't have the experience or the time to tap into. And I really appreciate that in my life so much, and give so much credit to my grandma Carolyn, who's now passed. And she's also a huge inspiration and the reason why my book is available today. She was one of my biggest life coaches, but also an amazing woman. And so when she was getting ill, we got all my journals together, which she was influential in me starting, and we started circling all the exciting stories and experiences that could relate to and be entertaining for the reader. And it was kind of our last big project together with my grandma and my auntie and my mom. And she got to read the rough draft before it was published. And I think the whole book really is a great reflection, not only upon the values she's instilled on my family and I, but it's also a great reflection of the Hawaiian wisdom and values that we hold so dear to us in Hawaii. And shares a lot of course, really cool stories from our family and all the adventures we have on Maui and our travels around the world. But at the end of the day, as you were mentioning, you know, the book isn't necessarily boasting results or talking about, you know, competitive feats as much as it is sharing practices that I've attained in my life from mentors, from family, from experiences and travels, and being able to give that to the reader to have them feel like they're in the shoes of a young professional waterman, and to be able to feel like they have a chance to, you know, learn the turmoils and the losses and the you know, great victories that come along with, you know, persistence and resilience. And so I think, you know, it's really unique. I'm really grateful to have created such a full life around the ocean, and to have met so many amazing people like you, like, you know, all of my countless friends in the world of surfing, windsurfing, stand-up paddling, hydrofoiling. It's really the best community I could surround myself with, you know. And so I owe a lot of credit to my parents and our community for giving me the opportunity to be in influence like this. And I think it's a huge part of everything I do as well, moving forward with my training personally and professionally, is having a chance with my success, with my endeavors, to maybe give back to the people I meet along the way, or to uplift the kids and the environment along the way. So, you know, regardless of how you know, fortunate I am, I think it's the constant thing is remembering to not take it for granted, and to always try and uplift others along the way.
I love it. Thank you for sharing and showing vulnerability as well. And the book you were talking, guys, is called Beneath the Surface. And I see that I know it's on Amazon. So if you guys want to check it out. But yeah, what a great mindset. And thanks for sharing your vision, Zane. So I want to jump a little bit into foiling, because I know you have been one of the first person I've seen on a foil board, and beside the antique picture of Lord Hamilton and Des Clama, right? So tell us a little bit, Zane, how does it feel now today to have extra quiver, or to have some foil equipment into your quiver?
Well, it's a good thing it's a lot smaller than a lot of my other equipment that I'm used to traveling with. You know, over the years, I've traveled with 14-foot race boards and triple coffin bags for Formula windsurf races. And so, you know, it's not that bad because the foil's packed down pretty small, and the boards are quite tiny, you know, for the most part. But it definitely adds a little bit more of a few more minutes when I'm loading the truck. But I think for the most part, I just always have my foil gear in the car, because no matter what, I can have fun on my foil. And so that's what I do, is whenever I go to the beach, whether I'm going out for a training session, big wave surfing, or whether I'm going out for a Ho'okipa windsurf sesh, or if the waves are good and I'm going to go surf, I think if I'm going to have a backup piece of equipment, it's most likely going to be some sort of a variation of a hydrofoil board. But it opens up so much windows of opportunity, and the playground gets so much bigger. Yeah, and so I feel so happy to have hydrofoiling in my life, but at the same time, I think it's probably what I've been spending most of my time doing. And I'm really proud of that, because, you know, it's exciting to be a part of something new.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of unique that it happens during this, you know, COVID is a crazy time. You know, it is in Hawaii as well. And it seems like it's been in Dominican Republic. But it's kind of given me the opportunity to slow down a little bit. Normally I'd be traveling so much, heavy season for sup racing coming up. And, you know, now instead I've been able to focus my time in big wave surfing and wind sports. And so I've been really consumed with pushing the boundaries with foil surfing, wing foiling, stand-up paddle, downwind foiling. And it's exciting because with every little change of equipment, with every little improvement in our gear, new things are happening. We're creating new maneuvers that we didn't know was possible. And it's really interesting time with social media too, because I got friends on the other side of the world, that like Radiculo and Tituan, and we're messaging each other on Instagram, sending each other videos like, man, your variation of the backflip is so much different than my variation. And then we're talking about how the different styles and the different gear, and it's really cool because the progression is just, something happens on Maui and the next evening the guys in Europe are seeing that, like, oh, we gotta hit that, let's go. And so it's it's exciting times.
So that's amazing, because I know you grandfather and Hoyle Schweitzer, actually he's the one who invented the sport of windsurfing in the late 60s. So can you relate, like, the energy and the excitement you have right now? Can you relate to what the excitement he had in the 60s? I mean, I know you talk a lot about your grandfather, what he brought you. So can you relate to that same excitement?
Yeah, and it's really funny because one of my highlight of travels always is running into family friends, whether it be my parents' friends or competitors they've had over the years, or my grandparents' generation of friends and supporters, with their influence on the world of water sports and the world in general, bringing windsurfing, out there. And I often do feel like I get to follow in my parents' footsteps, because if you can imagine, my dad, Matt Schweitzer, before he was an 18-time world champion, he was a young teenager in this, household that was pouring everything into this sport, and really put their heart and soul into it. And so when it started to come about and when it started to actually gain traction, like my dad would be in one part of the world with a container of windsurf gear, sharing, the sport with people. And my auntie would be in another, and my uncle would be in a different spot. And, there's a lot going on, and it's spreading like wildfire. And everyone that learns about it is just, so excited about it. And so very much so I do feel like I'm in that similar position almost twice over, full circle, because originally I started off as a surfer here on Maui, and competitively I came to be a professional windsurfer first. Then stand-up paddling was this, emerging thing that was the fastest growing water sport in the world at one time. And every windsurf event I was going to, all my sponsors, including Starboard, would encourage me, hey, you should bring your starboard sup, and maybe before the wind picks up, you could be playing around in the waves, and maybe teach some kids, some windsurfers in the community about it. And we'd roll up to Japan in 2006. People never even heard of stand-up paddling. They have no idea what it is, and we're there for a windsurf event, and they're just frothing on this new thing. And we taught, I mean, I want to say upward towards, 5,000 to 10,000 people stand-up paddling since the beginning of this sport, with our just nonchalant demos that we do before or after competition, or with our kids programs, or our not-for-profit Stand Up for the Cure, where we broke the Guinness World Record for the largest stand-up paddle lesson at one time, which we hosted 1,000 people at one time.
Wow.
And so, that's how diverse a sport like stand-up paddle is. You could do it on a lake, enclosed, safe conditions, and people could learn within minutes and feel safe. And now with hydrofoiling, we have a whole new level of diversity, and it's kind of more this edgy, kind of more kind of hardcore, but at the same time low impact and super fun, and you could do it any day. And it's starting to become full circle once more that, you know, now we have this new emerging sport that everyone's talking about and everyone's excited about, including myself, and gears changing rapidly, you know, and everything's new. And so I often, you know, just laugh because I think of what my, you know, the stories I've heard over the years at the dinner table with my dad, and yeah, totally feel like I'm living in their footsteps. I'm grateful for that.
I love it. And I hear Zane, I hear your passion and you joy and how much you love to share this with others. Can you tell us a little bit about which equipment are you using right now? Which foil size and why it matters to you?
Yeah, for sure. So most of the time in recent days, I've been using my Starboard hydrofoil X-Type 1100, which is my smallest foil I have and my most high-speed foil. It's been cranking wind here on Maui. Yeah. So downwind hydrofoil on the stand-up paddleboard has been kind of I think the most extreme activity aside from windsurfing or kite surfing or wing riding, of course. But you know, I've been really excited to test downwind gear for whatever reason. You know, I go through my cycles of what I want to do, but I got really excited when I saw just all this wind and the flat forecast. So my Starboard 1100 X-Type has been surprising me in a number of conditions, you know, because when I first tried it in the surf, I was like, man, this thing is so fast, but it was really hard at low end speeds. So on the wave, it felt great, especially staying close to the energy, so fast, so responsive. But as soon as I kicked out and started to pump, it was I had to be sensitive with the motion and had to kind of take my time figuring out the rhythm of that the foil likes to move at. But once I did, you know, I was able to keep this high end speed going, and I started thinking, this thing has probably worked pretty good if I could get it up on a downwinder. Yeah. And then that wind came and went out on my 4-foot 6-inch wingboard from Maliko Gulch. You know, I started off on the bigger version, the 1300 E-type. And I didn't really like it so much. I was like a little discouraged, actually. I'm like, this 1100 is a lot smaller, but at the same time, the E-type does feel slower in the waves too. And so I did another run after that, put the 1100 on, and it was night and day difference. I mean, it was a little tougher to get it up and off the water on a bump. But once it was up and moving, it had this next gear of speed and was able to keep up with the ground swell, which is kind of important. Now, wind swell is a lot slower moving than ground swell. So if you could kind of be able to ride the momentum of the ground swell as it passes, that you're going to get a lot higher time and speed, as opposed to just kind of carving back and forth on the same wind swell. In the surf, I've been really loving that same Starboard 1100, but use the high aspect AK foil for a lot of my surf missions because it pumps just insane. You know, it's an amazing all around foil. You know, I currently have a 1300 version of it, and that's the smallest I currently have. But they're making 1,000 version of it, and I'm super excited to receive that. So I'm 150 pounds, 5'6". So I think 1,300 honestly is like as big as I would like to go for most ranges of foil sports and different categories. But the high aspect AK foil is really easy for things like dock starts, beach starts, flat water pumpathons, cruising downwinders. I could just stand there and not pump at all. I might not get the highest speed run, but even if it's a very low energy run, or even on a high energy run, it's just a really fun foil to ride because you could surf and don't have to worry about losing energy. But in the waves, surprisingly, it's pretty high performance, and you could break the tips out of the water so far, and it just re-enters the water really nice. And I love that trait about that foil. I think that's something really important to me when I'm testing foil gear, is how the foil can recover from aeration, or from when you breach and air gets stuck under the wing. How it recovers from tips breaking out of the water as you roll over and carve into a turn. And how the board and foil respond to that quick bounce off the water when you're coming down from a touchdown. And so with all these different variables in mind, it's, testing equipment could get a little overwhelming, but I've really had a cool opportunity to ride a lot of different gear here on Maui. As you imagine, it's kind of the mecca. Yeah. There's so much different brands lately. It seems like, we're seeing all kinds of different foil companies that are popping up specific to foiling, and every windsurf and kite surf and surf foil company are starting to make a foil. And so, for the most part, there's a even playing field, but I think there's a few number of companies out there that are continuing to push the limits of innovation, which is good to see.
That's great information. And also, what we want to keep in mind is, as the equipment improve, we are all improving along, right? It's just like, remember when you start foiling and the equipment was not as performant as now. Well, you already been rocking on a foil, but I remember for me starting on a beginner equipment, and then you get better, or I got better, and the equipment improves. So it's just it allows us to push our own limits as well, and to really improve more and more. Zane, where do you see foiling in a couple of years from now?
Foiling, I think, is going to go way beyond what we can imagine currently. I think wing foiling gave us a small taste of that, to see some of the professional windsurfers and kite surfers cross over into foiling, but specifically wing riding. And I've been very interested with some of the maneuvers that Radi Kulo's been doing. I know that's his name on Instagram. His real name is Balls Mueller, I believe.
Yeah, he's from Switzerland.
I love calling him just Radical Kulo, Radi Kulo, though, because he's pretty freaking radical. I think early on he was an innovator and a pioneer, implementing some pretty high-end, demanding skill windsurf freestyle maneuvers, and even maybe some windsurf hydrofoil maneuvers just straight into the wing sport when it was fresh and young. And a lot of people were looking at the wing as la-di-da, I'm just going to go back and forth. What? You can't do anything. I don't see people surfing. I don't see people doing anything. If anyone's jumping, they're just doing a little donkey kick, and that's how it was early on for a little bit. Yeah. But don't get me wrong. I think that this is going to take it as far as we want. And with social media nowadays, and the level of skill in all these other sports that can easily translate to wing and foiling, I think things are just going to go so quick. It's going to, and it has been going so quick. I remember landing, hucking my first backflip on the wing. It was a really funny session because I was out windsurf foiling at Kanaha Beach, and Pete Cabrina and Alan Cadiz, I believe, were out testing one of the early prototypes of a wing that was on Maui. And I remember going up to them and asking, "Hey, uncle, can I try? I like sample. Can I go out and give it a try?" Of course, I seen, Kai Lenny with a few Instagram clips real early on with this. And this was just around that time. And they're like, this is really, be careful with it. And so, of course, I go out, and within minutes, I was able to surprisingly get it up and going and feel real comfortable. And I'm like, okay, well, this is just like foil surfing, with a little bit of wind sport knowledge. It definitely helps. And after literally, I'd say 3 to 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going back and forth. Okay, I've done some jibes and tacks. My board still hasn't touched the water. This is fun. This is like cruise. This is easy. How much can I push it? And I saw this wave coming at me, and right away I'm like, I feel like I'm approaching this thing like a windsurf push loop, and I just threw it. And this was, I'm not even kidding, my first 5 to 10 minutes on the wing, and through a push loop or a back loop. I'd say more of a push loop than a back loop. And, came down completely upside down on top of the wing. Luckily, the foil didn't go through the wing. And I was thinking, ooh, as I'm coming down upside down on top of it, I have Uncle's voice in my head. Be really careful. This is the only one. I'm like, okay, no more trying extreme shit until I get my own gear. And so I had to be real patient until starboard. I had to really convince, the starboard team early on, hey, wing riding is going to stick. Like, this isn't just a fad or a trend. Like, and, they didn't get the earliest start. But once they did realize, okay, this is a thing, they jumped on it. And they were one of the early brands into it with Air Rush and the Starboard collaboration. So once I did get my own gear, landing some of my first backflips, implementing water starts and 360 variations, like an air reverse on a surfboard. And, all of a sudden it was like, this really is a true combination of surfing, surf foiling, windsurfing, kite surfing, and really diverse. Because in Lahaina, where I live on the west side of Maui, it's the leeward side of Maui, and usually very inconsistent wind. Kite surfers, windsurfers don't like riding out here because it's very gusty, very holy, for the most part, pretty glassy. The wind line is usually really far out. I've been getting so much sessions on the wing foil in Lahaina, right from my house.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how gusty it is or how holy it is. I just throw a big foil and a big board, and in between the gusts, or literally through the holes, just pumping, holding the wing behind me, and it's a really great way to explore on the water, whether it be a lake, an ocean, a river. You could carve straight up into the wind. You have that opportunity to move through those lulls of wind. It's rad. And it's not old news too. You see every Olympic category of wind sport now transitioning to foil, including kite and windsurf. You see the America's Cup pretty much all foiling now, the last decade or so, maybe even more. And so it's we are scratching the surface, quite literally.
Yeah, I agree. And the sky is just the limit. I'm super excited about what's going to be next in the future of anything with a foil. So Zane, thank you so much for sharing your passion, your energy, your knowledge. It's been great to see you, and I'm super looking forward to watch you shredding in Cabarete again.
Right on, Audrey. I'm so looking forward to get out with you out there too. It seems like they're planning on maybe postponing till September. So hopefully we'll see you then. And if you don't mind me plugging all the viewers to check out some of my recent YouTube vlogs that I've been trying to release every Aloha Friday. you could join my newsletter to get updates whenever these vlog and movie projects are posted. It's youtube.com/Zane Schweitzer. Would love to have you guys check out some of our action and keep up with all the crazy stuff we're getting into. Also, it's great to be able to have the online community through these times.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd rather be sitting here in front of you, Audrey, in the Cabarete Beach or at Encuentro recording this. But things like Zoom and Instagram and YouTube really has gave a great opportunity for us to all stay connected and for us to all to feed off each other and stay positive. Hopefully not get too sucked into it, but yeah, so thanks to all of you guys who already are part of my Zaniac tribe, following me on my social media platforms, and to everyone who's reading my story and beneath the surface, thank you guys so much, and I hope to see you all on the water.
Thank you, Zane. Keep sharing the stock, and we're definitely going to tune in with your vlog. And thank you guys for joining, and I see you all soon. Thank you, Zane.
Oh yeah, aloha.
Thank you guys for watching. See you soon on our next Pro Foil Talk with a new guest. Enjoy the ocean.